Okay, let's talk about what it really means to abandon a sacred text. It's probably not what you think. We're about to dive into a pretty surprising investigation, uncovering a hidden warning that's tucked away inside the Quran itself. Let's get into it. So it all kicks off with this really startling verse. And this isn't just some passing comment. This is a powerful complaint, and it's spoken by the Prophet Muhammad himself on the Day of Judgment. He's actually accusing his own people of abandoning the very scripture they claim to love. And right away, that's the central mystery, isn't it? I mean, how is that even possible? It sounds like a total contradiction. People who revere a book, who read it all the time, abandoning it? This is the question that's going to drive our whole investigation today. We're going to unpack this thing like a detective story. To solve any mystery, you've got to start at the crime scene, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the verses that are right there immediately surrounding this accusation. They hold the first really crucial clues. So, right before the big accusation, we get this scene of just intense regret. You have someone literally biting their hands in anguish saying, "Oh, I wish I had never followed that certain close friend." Why? Because that friend, they say, led them astray from the reminder. This is our first major piece of evidence. Now, let's zoom in on that word for friend. The Arabic word used here is khalil. This isn't your casual acquaintance. This is someone you trust deeply, maybe an authority figure, someone whose guidance you really rely on. So, clue number one, the problem seems to start when you outsource your trust to a human guide instead of the text. And what was this person led away from? The dhikr. It means the reminder, and in this context, there's no doubt it's talking about the Quran itself. So the Khalil, that trusted friend, was actively steering them away from engaging directly with the scripture. And this brings us to the most important word in the whole complaint, mahjuran. This is the real kicker. It doesn't mean just forgetting the book on a shelf. The word implies an active choice, a deliberate decision to put the Quran aside and choose something else instead. So the key here is that this is an act of commission, not just omission. It's something you do. All right, so with these clues, we can actually start to build a kind of psychological profile. What sort of mindset leads someone to actively abandon the scripture? Well, the same chapter gives us even more evidence. Earlier in that same chapter, we hear the people complaining, and they're basically saying, why is our messenger so normal? I mean, he eats food, he walks around in the markets just like us. They didn't want a regular, accessible human being. They wanted someone special, someone almost otherworldly. So let's pull all our clues together. The pattern is starting to get really clear. The path to abandoning the scripture involves looking for human authorities, preferring their take on things over your own direct engagement, and demanding these special intermediaries, all of which leads to rejecting guidance that's meant to be direct and accessible to you. And here is where our investigation takes a really sharp turn into the modern day. I mean, this pattern was described over 1,400 years ago, but does it have a modern equivalent? Does the same mindset of avoiding direct engagement show up in our world right now? Let's explore a parallel that might seem a little unexpected at first. The practice of treating the Quran not as a book of guidance to transform you, but as a book of spells, a tool for getting things you want in the world. So what's really the difference? Well, think about it. Magic is all about bypassing understanding to get a result. It's about performing a ritual correctly. Guidance, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. It requires understanding in order to transform your consciousness. It empowers you. These are two fundamentally different ways of approaching a text. And the Quran itself seems to point this out. It asks this amazing rhetorical question, challenging people to engage in what it calls tadabbar, which means deep contemplation, really thinking about it. It suggests that if you don't do that, it's like your heart has locks on it. It's a direct command to engage with the meaning, not just the ritual of the words. So now let's connect the dots. Let's link that ancient pattern of abandonment with this modern practice. This is the moment where all the different pieces of our investigation are going to snap together. Does any of this sound familiar? Reciting certain verses a specific number of times to get rich, or reading a chapter for healing, or focusing way more on the count of how many times you repeat something rather than what it actually means. These are pretty common practices, but what's the logic underneath it all? Okay, now hold that thought and look at this verse. It describes people who have the book, but they don't actually know the book. Their entire relationship with it is based on something called amania. And this word is a massive clue. So what is amania? It's wishful thinking. It's coming to a text based on your own desires, which you want to get out of it, instead of trying to understand what the text is actually saying to you. The Quran itself points this out as a huge mistake. So let's just ask the question head on. Is treating the Quran like a book of spells a modern form of abandonment? The argument is, well, it's pretty compelling. You abandon the meaning for the ritual sound. You abandon the guidance for a material outcome. You abandon direct engagement for a magic formula. The book stops being a source of clarity and becomes a talisman. This perfectly matches the profile of making it majuran. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? The end of our investigation isn't just a summary, it's a call to action, and it's found right inside the text itself. The antidote is tadabbar. Remember that word? It's the Qur'an's own prescribed way of engaging with it. Not just reading, but deeply contemplating, reflecting, pondering the meaning, and what it actually means for your life. And this verse just lays it out crystal clear. The book was sent down so that people would perform tadabbur on its verses. The primary function, the whole reason for its existence, according to this verse, is to be an object of deep reflection. That's the point. And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. It turns this whole analysis right back onto us. For anyone who has this book, the question becomes unavoidable. Is the book on your shelf an object for ritual recitation, or is it a subject for profound, life-changing reflection? The answer to that question might just determine whether it has truly been abandoned or not.